Amazing act of love. Maid discovers shocking betrayal and makes incredible sacrifice to save boss. Anna stood frozen in Michael's office, the late afternoon sunlight casting long shadows across the polished mahogany desk. The weight of betrayal felt like a vice around her chest as she pored over the documents spilling out from a manila folder. Words leaped off the page, whispering guilty secrets: collusion, misconduct, deceit. Her hands trembled, rage and confusion coursing through her veins. For years, she'd admired Michael's ethical stance, his determination to do right by his clients and family. But this unveiled a side of him that shattered her belief. How could you, she thought, hazarding a glance at his family picture on the desk. Michael, grinning brightly with his daughter Rachel, was everything she aspired to emulate as a mother. He cherished family, yet here she was, uncovering the potential wreckage of his career and reputation. Her mind raced as she wrestled with her conscience, caught in a fierce tug-of-war between loyalty and integrity. If she revealed what she'd found, his world would crumble. Her world would shatter too. But how could she stand by and let this go unchallenged? Yet owning her truth felt almost cowardly. The image of Michael being torn apart by scornful whispers gnawed at her, a fear-pricked realization. Protecting him meant risking everything, the future she envisioned for Lily, their hopes tethered on her moral standing. Before she could plunge deeper into decision-making, Michael's voice drifted through the hall. Panic swelled inside her. He sounded frantic, uncharacteristically desperate, a tone that made her heart race for entirely different reasons. "Rachel's in the hospital. They say she needs an expensive treatment. I can't lose her." The air thickened as Anna absorbed the impact of his revelation, her resolve shaking. All at once, the papers in front of her felt even heavier. Michael was a father, a man fighting the impossible for his child. His struggle mirrored hers in so many ways. She thought of Lily, of her dreams, of the sacrifices she'd made to provide for her. What was right and wrong in this murky mess of obligation and loyalty? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. The internal conflict transformed into a tempest as brief flashes crossed her mind. What would Lily think? Was she a coward if she let Michael slide? Could she truly bury the truth for his sake, knowing it was wrong? Each revelation only braided the knot of unease in her stomach tighter, demanding a choice that felt impossible: expose Michael and possibly doom his daughter, or remain silent, allowing the ethical decay to fester beneath the surface. A sudden chill danced down her spine. Shadows moved in the corner of her eye. Was it just her mind playing tricks? Or was someone else aware of the truth? Tension crackled, the walls of the firm whispering secrets, and she was at the epicenter of it all. As the clock ticked closer to dawn, she realized she was no longer just scrambling to survive. Her very principles were on fire, and the blaze could consume her whole. In that fleeting moment of despair, she knew one thing. Making a choice would cost her more than she could count, but the clock was ticking, and the answer lay locked in a fragile balance, strained to its limits. The question was no longer about loyalty or betrayal. It was a matter of survival. Would she be able to uphold her values while fighting for family? The murky waters of moral obligation threatened to swallow her whole, leaving her with the haunting thought: what does it truly mean to save someone you care about, even at the expense of yourself? Anna's heart raced as she took a deep breath, steeling herself against the tempest of emotions swirling within her. The papers on Michael's desk lay like a damning testament to a betrayal that seemed irreconcilable with everything she thought she knew about him. Every second that ticked away felt like an eternity, a reminder that decisions linger beyond the moment of choosing. She turned away from the desk, needing space to think. Pacing now, each step was a careful weighing of values. Each soft thud on the carpeted floor counted like a heartbeat in the mountain chaos. What would I do if it were Lily? The question coursed through her mind like a relentless echo. Could she accept silence? Could she abandon her convictions for the sake of protecting someone else's?
In her own childhood, her mother had taught her the importance of integrity, a lesson scrawled on her heart. But the world frequently obscured that line with gray. Michael had always seemed so strong, so certain in his ethics, only to crumble under the weight of deception. He needed her now, but did he deserve her loyalty after what she had uncovered? The question gnawed at her. She envisioned Lily's bright smile, the way her daughter's laughter could break through the darkest of days. It pushed her forward, compelling her to act with the love that had always safeguarded their fragile future. "I can't let fear overwhelm me," she murmured, steeling her resolve. Dragging in another breath, Anna glanced back at the papers that had the potential to derail not just Michael's life, but the lives of those who depended on him, including her own. With a sudden burst of determination, her mind raced through calculations of what it would mean to expose him, to put the truth out in the open.
What if he got fired? What would that mean for Lily and for Anna? She didn't just care for her own future, but felt a begrudging responsibility for Michael, who had unwittingly drawn her into this morass. It was then that her thoughts turned toward solutions. There must be a way to confront him without completely collapsing his world, she considered urgently. Could she arrange a private meeting under the guise of supportive concern, perhaps truly gauge his level of awareness regarding his actions? If he recognized the gravity of his mistakes, maybe they could devise a plan together, one that saved Rachel and mitigated the risks sparked by this betrayal. As she deliberated, a flicker of inspiration ignited in her. Anna felt a brand new competence rising within, an unexpected skill set bubbling to the surface. She had always thrived under pressure from her many duties at home and work, but now she realized that her empathy could be redirected into strategy. This was no longer merely about survival. It could be about action, redemption, and forging unexpected alliances. The decision etched upon her resolve, Anna took one final glance at the peaceful faces in the family photo frame before they hardened into the weight of necessity. She could help Michael understand that choosing honesty now might yield a fractured but salvageable future. With a newfound sense of purpose, she moved toward the door, whispering to herself, "This has to be handled delicately. It's the line between survival and sacrifice." She opened the door, determination coursing through her veins as she prepared to face him. The moment of truth was near, and she hoped she wouldn't find herself standing alone in the aftermath. Would confronting Michael's actions secure her values and protect both their families, or unleash a storm greater than she could anticipate? As Anna stepped into the hallway, an unexpected chill raced through her. The walls seemed to close in with every footstep, amplifying the gravity of what lay ahead. She steadied her breath, grounding herself in the realization that this was a defining moment not only for Michael, but for her. Each decision shaped the paths of their lives, opening doors to possibilities that could lead to redemption or ruin. The office door loomed before her, framed in polished oak, an illusion of stability amidst turmoil. With a gentle knock that felt more like a declaration, she entered and was greeted by Michael's startled gaze. He was seated behind his desk, his normally composed demeanor fraying at the edges. Anna noticed the way tension knotted his brow, a sign that he sensed her unease before she even spoke. "Anna," he began, his voice faltering, betraying the calm he tried to project. "Can we talk?" The request flowed from her in a firm yet gentle tone, masking her internal tumult. The paper still lingered in the background of her mind, a vivid reminder of the rift that had opened between them.
She understood there was no way to soften the impact, but there was a path forward. His eyes darkened as comprehension flickered across his face. He gestured towards a chair, the subtle invitation laced with apprehension. As she settled into her seat, she noted the way he leaned forward, his hands clasped in front of him, like a shield against the unspoken truth they needed to confront. "Is this about the project?" he questioned, though the tremor in his voice indicated he already knew. "It's about the project," she affirmed, yet knew it was so much more. "And about you." For a moment, silence engulfed them, heavy with the weight of consequence. Anna's heart thudded as she wrestled with how to unveil her revelations. How could she deliver them in a way that would not just accuse, but invite understanding? "Do you realize the risks you've taken?" she finally asked. The words hung like a taut line between them, a challenge and an invitation. The papers, the implications, they're not just numbers. They affect lives, our lives. Michael's posture crumbled. He slowly shook his head, as if he could deny the truth with sheer will. "I didn't want any of this to happen, Anna. I thought I could manage it. I thought I could have turned away,
could have chosen to stay silent, she interrupted gently, yet firmly. But I know the risks, and I care too much about what this could mean for our families to ignore it. The color drained from his face, and Anna felt the brittle tension ease ever so slightly. Vulnerability simmered just beneath his surface. I was trying to protect you, and Rachel. By lying, her words were sharp, but her concern softened the blow. Protecting us means facing consequences. It means honesty, even when it hurts. What you've done, it's not just dangerous, it's damaging. Michael turned away, his moment of vulnerability morphing into despair, and Anna recognized the tumult within him. She saw the frayed ties of duty and desperation tangled in his eyes. This is your chance, Michael. You can still make it right, but it means you have to fight for your integrity. The silence that followed was pregnant with realization. She watched as he wrestled with the burdens of his actions, contemplating the weight of admission over the allure of deceit. Anna felt a flicker of hope. It was a chance for growth, both personally and professionally. In this crucible of honesty, she could sense a shift, an awakening in him as much as in herself. They weren't merely combating the fallout of betrayal. They were embarking on a journey toward healing. What if I don't know how? He finally whispered. Vulnerability laying bare before her. Anna offered a tentative smile, a lifeline in his uncertain sea. That's the point. We'll learn together. As the door closed behind them, sealing out the remnants of the past, Anna prayed they could navigate this precarious journey, where honesty could transform their lives once again.
But in the shadows, a voice whispered a reminder. Some truths, especially those unvoiced, hold the power to resurface, threatening to dismantle everything they aimed to build back. Would they find the strength to face what lurked in the darkness? The air in Michael's office felt heavy, charged with unspoken possibilities and the weight of decisions yet to be made. As Anna ventured deeper into this conversation, she could sense that the fragile thread connecting them was both a lifeline and a potential noose. She sat poised, ready to guide him through what needed to be faced, even as doubt clawed at her resolve. "Let's start with the project," Anna suggested, her voice steady but soft. "What were you hoping to achieve? What pressures led you down this path?" She leaned forward slightly, genuinely wanting to understand the storm swirling within him. This wasn't merely a critique, it was an invitation to articulate the chaos. Michael shifted, wrestling with the words that lodged in his throat. I thought I could handle it. I wanted to impress everyone, make a mark." His voice trailed off, frustration and shame intertwining, and Anna could see that he was grappling with something more profound than professional ambition. It was about acceptance, about worth. "Impressions fade, Michael. Your integrity is what will echo beyond these walls." His eyes met hers, vulnerability swimming in their depths. The notion was unfamiliar, a stark contrast to the route he had chosen. Anna recognized this was not merely a dialogue about a failed project. It was about redefining who he was in the space they were creating together. "What if no one believes me if I come clean?" His voice cracked, revealing a primal fear that surpassed their corporate stakes. "What if I lose everything?" "Then you rebuild," she replied without hesitance, knowing the truth would be tumultuous but ultimately liberating. "You'll discover what matters most through this process, but it must begin with honesty. We have to confront this head-on." Each statement was a plank laid down on the path out of darkness. Yet, even as she offered reassurance, Anna could feel the shadows pressing in. The potential fallout wasn't confined to just Michael. It could extend to her as well. She was now part of this journey, and with that came the chilling reality that her own reputation could be at stake. "Why are you so willing to take this risk with me?" Michael interrogated, the sincerity in his tone cutting through the trepidation. "Because I've taken risks in the past that cost me dearly when I ignored them." The admission surprised her. She had seldom revealed the scars of her own shortcomings. "I've lived with regret, Michael, and I refuse to stand by while you do the same. This is our chance to rise from it together." He leaned back slightly, the challenge evident in his expression. She could sense the swirl of thoughts, doubt, fear, and perhaps a timid spark of hope. It was a mire she had once navigated, a tumultuous internal dialogue that threatened to silence even the strongest will. Would he choose to fight, or would he submit to despair? As they sat in the charged silence, Anna felt a stir within her, a surge of empowerment. It dawned on her that this was not solely about rescuing Michael from himself. It was equally about her own reclamation of purpose and conviction. She understood in that pivotal moment that personal growth often emerges from the crucible of others' failures.
Let's draft a plan together. We'll outline every step, she proposed, determination seeping into her voice. Transparency will be our ally in this. We can navigate the repercussions, but we must prepare. Michael met her gaze, a flicker of recognition dawning within him. You really believe we can do it? Together? Yes, she stated, her heart racing, feeding off the energy that charged the air. But we must commit fully to this path. No more half-truths, no secrets. It means facing what comes our way without faltering. In an instant, the door swung open, letting in a gust that carried with it an unsettling wave of uncertainty. They were both keenly aware that their decisions would resonate beyond this office, and that the shadows, the secrets that lingered, would claw their way through if left unaddressed. But even as they embraced the weight of their choices, an unsettling thought crept into Anna's mind. What if the biggest obstacle wasn't Michael's denials, but the hidden truths she had kept buried about her own life? With this realization simmering beneath the surface, Anna took a deep breath. The stakes had escalated, and their joint commitment to honesty would be tested beyond the confines of professional integrity. Would she be ready to confront her own darkness when the moment arrives? The sun dipped lower outside the office windows, painting the room in hues of orange and gold. Anna felt a frisson of urgency as she contemplated the gravity of their conversation. The warmth from the evening light was in stark contrast to the cold reality she and Michael now faced. It was a moment where personal and professional lines blurred, and both needed to tread carefully. Let's start drafting that plan, she urged, wrestling her thoughts back from the precipice of personal fears. As she spoke, Anna felt a burgeoning sense of responsibility, not only for Michael, but for her own path. She needed to ensure that every decision made resonated with authenticity. The complexity of her own past loomed, quietly reminding her of her frailties, but there was no room for retreat now. Michael picked up a notepad, his hands trembling slightly, a physical manifestation of his turmoil. What if my team doesn't know about the setbacks? What if this spirals out of control? The suffocating weight of the unknown pressed against Anna, but she pushed through, willing to reconcile the fear with ambition. We'll gather everyone for a meeting.
If they have no idea, then they can't help. We need the entire team involved to pivot together. Isn't that risky? He asked, the crestfallen tone igniting a flicker of doubt in her. She could see the hesitations carving lines into his forehead, each a reminder of the stakes they were tipping into. Trust is as valuable as transparency. Risk might be inevitable, but we can shape the narrative moving forward. Each word fortified Anna's resolve. Would she still be able to guide him if the tides turned? That question echoed in her mind, an insistent reminder of her own vulnerabilities. As the sun finally sank beyond the horizon, casting shadows that clung to every corner, she felt a growing urgency within. We can't dwell on what might happen. We need to be proactive and swift. The situation will only worsen the longer the truth waits. They were no longer simply managing a project. They were engineering a lifeline. Tension filled the room, and Michael paused, staring at the notepad with heavy eyes. What if the team reacts poorly? What if they see this as a failure on my part? His voice wavered, haunted by the specter of betrayal. Failures happen, she replied, her own conviction bolstered by years of internal conflict she had rarely faced. What matters is how you respond to them. Growth isn't just about successes. It's about owning up to and learning from mistakes. Anna's tone shifted, the discussion now nestled into something more personal. The lessons learned through her own missteps added a depth to her words that she hadn't anticipated sharing. I've had to confront my own failures. It was painful, yes, but it also shaped me into who I am today. Don't let fear of rejection dictate your actions. Staring into Michael's eyes, she saw the flicker of recognition. Perhaps her battle against her own past wasn't just building walls of proficiency, but tearing them down too, piece by piece. Okay, he said, his voice slowly gaining strength. Let's do it. I need to own this. That tiny spark ignited an ember in her chest, redefining her own narrative moment by moment. Admitting failures could empower them both. As they began mapping out their steps, Anna's mind lingered on the hidden truths within her own life. The parallels between their struggles crystallized, as if drawing them together into an uncharted alliance of vulnerability and strength. But a sinister thought flickered briefly in her consciousness. Would facing Michael's truth lead her to confront her tales of regret as well? In aiding him, might she inadvertently expose her own hidden scars? With determination resolute, she dismissed the thought for now. Just as she secured the pen to make the first mark on their plan, an urgent notification stole her attention. An email appeared,
its subject line like a jagged edge. Project update. Urgent action required. Her heart raced at the implications, the sensation of something more looming ahead. What unexpected crisis awaited them?
With the layers of revelation and danger piling up, Anna felt the atmosphere shift once more, propelling them into deeper uncertainty. What should have been a symbol of hope transformed into a new source of tension. Would they still hold strong together when the real storm hit? Anna's fingers hovered over the keyboard, the email demanding her attention like a siren's call. The implications weighed heavily in her chest, and she could almost feel the pressure building as dread settled like a shadow. She took a deep breath, steeling herself for the unwelcome news. As her eyes scanned the message, her heart sank. Budget misallocation, she read aloud, her voice barely above a whisper. The words twisted like a knife in her gut. It detailed how the project they were working on was severely underfunded due to unforeseen expenses and mismanagement. A financial oversight that threatened to unravel everything they'd just begun to piece together seemed like a cruel twist of fate. "What is it?" Michael asked, leaning forward with concern. There's going to be a major financial review. They're cutting the project's budget by nearly 20%, she responded, her tone laced with unease. The weight of the revelation forced her back into reality, crushing down on her chest like a weight she had to carry alone. "What does that mean for us?" His brow knitted together, lines of worry deepening as anxiety washed over his expression. "It means we need to reevaluate every decision we've made in the last few weeks. If we don't act quickly, everything we've built crumbles before it even takes off," Anna replied, the urgency now threatening to strangle her voice. Each moment felt like quicksand, pulling her deeper into the uncertainty of what lay ahead. Michael's shoulders fell, defeated. "They think we can't manage. Maybe they were right after all." "Don't think like that. We're not done yet," she interjected, a fierceness igniting within. "This is a test, and we've faced worse before. Remember what we just talked about? The importance of owning our reality?" He nodded slowly, doubt still shadowing his eyes. "The first step is to gather the team and break the news. They need to understand the predicament we're in, and exactly how they can help. No more hiding," Anna declared, feeling the resonance of her own words. Each decision had a ripple effect, and this one may test her ability to lead. As they focused on preparing for the meeting, Anna felt a flicker of hope emerging within the turmoil. She was determined to face this challenge head-on, confident that collective effort could turn the tide. But an undercurrent of anxiety gnawed at her. Could she really inspire this team to rise against the odds? Minutes melted away as they discussed strategies, but the shadows of doubt persisted. When the time came to gather their team, Anna felt her heart thudding and writhing with her breath.
Standing before a group of colleagues felt like both a privilege and a curse, and she could sense their anticipation mingling with fear. "Thank you all for coming on such short notice," Anna began, her voice steady. Each eye in the room was fixated on her, their expressions a mix of concern and confusion. "There's no going back," she forged ahead, the stakes sky high with every word. "I'm here to be transparent with you about our current situation. We just received news about a significant budget cut." A murmur rippled through the group, punctuated by whispers of disbelief. Michael stood beside her, his presence a silent pillar of reinforcement. Anna could feel him rallying too, as he added, "We need your insights, creativity, and commitment to turn this around. Our collective strength is our best weapon." His words resonated deeply, echoing her earlier thoughts and driving her determination. The meeting morphed into an unexpected brainstorming session, and with each suggestion, each glimmer of innovative solutions, their resolve grew. Despite the escalating tension, Anna discovered newfound confidence in her ability to lead this charge. She knew it was more than just a project. It was a testament to her own resilience and authenticity, a chance to reclaim her narrative and pave the way forward. But as plans began to take shape, the thought lingered in the back of her mind. Would this be the moment where everything she feared collided with the strength she had built? Just as the meeting concluded, an unexpected figure stepped into the room, Marissa, their operations director, with a grave look etched across her face. It sent a chill through the air, creating a palpable tension. What news could she bring? Was it to be another misfortune, or something more sinister? The air crackled with apprehension as Anna braced herself for yet another revelation. What lay ahead? Marissa paused at the door, scanning the room as if assessing a battlefield. The silence was thick, punctuated by the last echoes of Anna's resolute words. With every passing second,
dread compounded within Anna. There was a depth in Marissa's eyes that sent a shiver down her spine. "Anna, we need to talk. Now," Marissa said, cutting through the low murmurs of concern that settled among the team. Anna straightened, sensing the gravity of the moment cling to her like a heavy cloak. Her initial instinct was to dissect the tension, to approach it analytically. But in this atmosphere, strategies felt translucent, as if they might shatter under pressure. "Can it wait?" Anna replied, casting a glance at the team, some of whom were still lost in thought about the next steps. The burden was becoming too much to bear alone, and she didn't want to compound their worries. "No, it can't." Marissa's tone was firm, almost maternal, as if she wanted to shield Anna from the potential fallout. There was something deeply unsettling about the director's urgency.
Anna fought to knead the anxiety into a semblance of control. "Okay, let's step outside for a moment." When they reached the corridor, the stark fluorescent lights highlighted the tension between them. "What is it?" Anna pressed, feeling her pulse quicken. Marissa took a breath, her expression softening momentarily. "I didn't want to overload you with this while you were preparing the team. I thought it would be best to have some clarity before our next steps." She hesitated, then continued. "There's a possibility that I might not be able to stay with the project." The words hung heavy in the air. "What do you mean?" Anna's challenge was immediate, as the implications threatened to undermine her budding confidence. "I was informed that upper management is considering reallocating my position, and extensive restructuring to save on costs." Marissa's voice trembled slightly. "They're even talking about outsourcing some roles." A wave of nausea washed over Anna. She had admired Marissa's expertise and guidance, recognizing the foundation of support she had built over the years. "How could they do that? You're integral to this project." "They don't see it that way. This budget review has amplified their chances to cut costs broadly," Marissa explained, her eyes filled with a flicker of regret. "And they may take my recommendations into account, especially if my evaluation reflects negatively. If you need my input for this project, I have to be part of the plan, Anna. We need to figure this out together." The plan. Suddenly, it felt precarious again, as if it could unravel at a moment's notice. Anna's mind raced. They had already faced such adversity together. Could they navigate this shifting ground as well? "We'll make this work. You won't be alone in this," she promised, surprising herself with the fierceness of her own resolve. "I believe in the vision you've shared," Marissa replied, her voice steadier. "But you must be ready for the upper echelon skepticism. They might push back against your strategies, especially with everything weighing against us." Anna felt as if a door had swung open, a revelation crashing into her consciousness. Maybe this was the tipping point she needed to sharpen her leadership. They weren't just fighting for a project. They were defending their integrity, passion, and belief in their work. This might be an opportunity, not just another hurdle. "I'll need your guidance then, more than ever," Anna urged, her voice simmering with urgency. "We can devise a strategy that doesn't just save our project, but elevates it beyond their expectations." Marissa nodded, relief washing over her features. "Let's brainstorm the unexpected. You might just have the key to prove them wrong." As they returned to the meeting room, Anna felt something shift within her. The whispers of doubt hadn't vanished, but they were now fueled by a burning determination.
Harnessing that energy could empower her team to rise, to rethink how they approached this impending disaster. Walking back into the sea of faces, Anna resolved to share the reality of their situation, no longer just the budget cuts, but also the impending battle for leadership and integrity. They could turn this into a rallying point, a moment of collective resilience. "Team," she began, voice clearer than before, "we have a new challenge ahead, and it's going to test every ounce of our resolve. But I believe in you, and I believe in what we're capable of achieving together." Just as she finished, her phone buzzed violently, a notification that felt like an urgent jolt. It was an email from upper management. As she glanced at the screen, her breath caught in her throat. The message read, "We need to discuss the situation further. You'll have an opportunity to defend your project tomorrow." The moment of truth was approaching. Would she be ready to confront the reality of her fears, or would the shadows of the past bend her will? Anna's heart pounded in her chest as she processed the email, a tidal wave of anxiety crashing against her newfound resolve. Defending her project tomorrow in front of upper management felt like teetering on the edge of a precipice. For a fleeting moment, all she could see were the implications of failure that could render her leadership moot. But such thoughts quickly transformed into a fire ignited by necessity. She had to sharpen her strategy. She had to ensure her voice resonated through the walls of bureaucracy. Gathering the team around a large conference table, Anna stood in front of them as the weight of the moment settled on her shoulders. The faces looking back were a mix of anxiety and anticipation, putting her resolve to the test. They needed guidance, cohesion, a shared vision to combat the looming threat of disbandment.
And in that moment, Anna realized that she wasn't merely here to preserve a project. She was tasked with nurturing a purpose. "We need to align our strengths and present a unified front," she declared, her voice steady yet urgent. "It's not just about saving our project, but about showcasing what we can achieve together. This is our opportunity to elevate this work, to show that it's invaluable to the company's mission." As she spoke, Anna observed the various reactions her words drew. What was once filled with apprehension began to morph into speculation, ideas swirling like autumn leaves caught in a brisk wind. Some began brainstorming, proposing innovations, while others honed in on potential weaknesses in the management's arguments against them. "Let's hone in on what we do best," Anna encouraged, her confidence rippling outward, reshaping the atmosphere. "What unique advantages do we have that aren't being recognized?" One by one, team members shared insights about their individual contributions.
Anna saw latent potential spark within their words, the true essence of teamwork coalescing in front of her. That realization was empowering. Each person had unique competencies that led to a multifaceted solution. But it dawned on her that she too had lived in the shadow of doubt for too long. She needed to embrace her role, not just as a participant, but as the leader they required. As hours turned into a flurry of ideas, visions unfolded in a palpable tapestry of collaboration. They dissected their project's strengths, painted scenarios rich with possibilities, and articulated narratives woven from their shared experiences. Anna's mind danced between strategic frameworks and passionate rhetoric, crafting arguments that could convince even the most hardened critics. This was not merely about numbers or deliverables. It was about passion, purpose, and the relentless drive that fueled every late-night brainstorming session and early morning pursuit of perfection. Anna felt empowerment surging in her veins. She wasn't just defending a project, she was standing up for what she believed in. By the time the meeting concluded, Anna had formed a presentation that showcased their collective resolve, an insightful narrative that highlighted not only their capabilities, but also their commitment to the company's core values. "This is our moment," she said, sensing the palpable dedication radiating from her colleagues. "We're not going to let assumptions dictate our future." As the team filed out, Anna felt a sense of liberation fill the space where doubt once resided. She glanced at her reflection in the glass wall, and for the first time, she recognized the shift within. This was not just a professional journey, it was a personal metamorphosis, a testimony of resilience and determination. Yet, as the evening descended, the shadows cast by tomorrow's meeting loomed larger. Despite her newfound clarity, a gnawing worry settled within her. What if the upper management failed to see the value they had wrought? The stakes were rising, and the tension was primed. Tomorrow would test her tenacity, and ultimately, her ability to embrace the unknown. With a sinking heart, she wondered how she would manage when faced with the criticism she'd heard whispered in boardrooms before. But as she prepared for sleep that night, a quiet resolve anchored her thoughts. She was ready, not just to speak, but to fight fiercely for her vision. Tomorrow marked a turning point. Would she transform doubt into decisive action, or falter when the pressure mounted? Anna woke the next morning, cloaked in the dim light of dawn filtering through her blinds. As she lay in bed, an uneasy feeling gnawed at her thoughts, amplifying the stakes of the day. Every scenario played out like a film loop in her mind, questions aimed at dissecting her project, judgmental glances from upper management, and the potential fallout of failure. She could almost hear the whispers echoing the doubts that she had been so keen to silence the day before. Determined to break free from this internal chaos, Anna forced herself to rise. She moved through her morning routine with purpose, channeling her nervous energy into tangible actions. The squirt of toothpaste on her brush, the steaming cup of coffee filling her mug, each gesture an affirmation of her commitment to face the day. The tactile sensations grounded her, reminding her that she had worked hard to reach this point. On her commute, the world outside blurred into a stream of motion, but inside, a clarity emerged. Each moment she re-examined the narrative she had crafted with her team until it felt more like armor than a presentation. She had to internalize it fully. It wasn't merely about proving their worth, but about laying a foundation for a quintessential shift within the company. Arriving at the office, Anna was met with ambivalent smiles from her colleagues, their anxiety palpable. She motioned for them to gather, feeling the weight of their collective hopes resting on her shoulders. "We've worked so hard for this moment," she said, her voice resonating through the room, chasing out the clouds of tension. "Let's remember that we're more than a project. We represent innovation and change." As they moved to the conference room, Anna's breath quickened. Flashes of her own self-doubt lingered, but she shook them off, adopting a more assertive stance. She deeply inhaled, centering herself in the knowledge she had gleaned from her team. It wasn't just her voice they needed to hear, but the entirety of the group's dedication to their craft.
The boardroom was isolation incarnate, filled with the imposing members of upper management. Seated at the head of the table, Anna forced herself to maintain eye contact as she launched into their presentation. With each point she made, she wove in personal anecdotes and team narratives. She humanized the project, shaping it into a living entity that reflected their combined aspirations. She noticed her voice trembling only at the outset, but it quickly transformed into a steadiness she hadn't known possible. As she navigated through the critical arguments, she sensed the rapt attention of those who previously seemed indifferent. They leaned forward, engaged, not just in the presentation, but in the authenticity of her conviction. But with critical engagement came a lingering tension. A senior executive interjected with a pointed question that could have derailed her momentum. "How do you plan to integrate this project with existing systems?" His skepticism hung heavy in the air, but she didn't waver. This was the moment she'd anticipated, a direct confrontation with doubt. "That's a critical inquiry," she replied, eyes steady. "We've already outlined intermediate steps to ensure seamless integration."
Our innovation isn't just an addendum, but a fundamental enhancement designed to work cohesively with current operations. The words flowed, driven by her knowledge and the conviction of her teammates. Anna was no longer just the defender of an idea. She was a champion of a new path forward, startling revelations of her own leadership welling up within her. As the meeting wound down, the tone shifted. Questions morphed into discussions, challenges into possibilities. Anna could feel the burgeoning support materializing, but the looming shadow of final judgment still lingered. "Let's take a moment to digest what Anna and her team have proposed." The lead executive addressed the room, his expression inscrutable. Anna could sense an impending decision that would either affirm or dismantle everything they'd worked for. As colleagues began to exit the room, Anna's heart raced, her fears rewritten yet again. She realized she had not only fought for her project, but had also unearthed a deeper reservoir of capability within herself, strength she never thought possible. But just as her spirits began to rise, she noticed a familiar face lingering in the back of the room. Someone she had trusted completely now bore an expression she couldn't decipher, their presence injecting fresh concern into her triumph. What revelations were yet to unfold? Anna felt the ground shift under her feet yet again, a sense of impending confrontation looming large. Who would rise to contest her newfound resolve? The next few moments felt surreal for Anna as she stood before the doorway, her heart pounding in rhythm with her thoughts. Marissa's lingering silhouette felt like both a harbinger of trouble and an old friend, reminding her of the risks that accompanied their newly forged pathway. This was the last thing she expected following her presentation, which had been a small victory against all odds. "Anna," Marissa said, her voice betraying a hint of concern, "we need to talk." "Can't this wait until later?" Anna replied, suddenly unable to shake off the heaviness that had followed her throughout the meeting. "No, not this," Marissa insisted, stepping further into the room to block her path. "I overheard some discussions after you left. They're not just evaluating the project, they're reconsidering my role entirely." The gravity of Marissa's words weighed heavily on Anna's conscience. She had already felt the sting of uncertainty creeping in, but to realize that someone else, someone she respected deeply, was also bracing for potential fallout made the stakes all too real. "Marissa, Anna began, but she faltered, torn between the passion she had just delivered in the meeting and her instinctual urge to shield Marissa from the storm. "Listen, I admire what you did today," Marissa halted her with a steadiness that forced Anna to meet her gaze. "But you need to understand that changes are coming, and they'll need someone to take the heat."
I need to know that if this project goes forward, you won't allow them to scapegoat me. A profound sense of responsibility shot through Anna, igniting the ember of leadership she had slowly begun to find. "I refuse to let you take the fall for something that should never have been your burden to bear," she assured firmly, feeling her resolve crystallize even more. "Then let me help you shape this narrative, Anna. We can do this together. The benefits will reveal themselves even in the midst of shifts. Every strong leader allows their allies to be partners, not just collateral damage." The ring of truth in Marissa's words brought Anna to a painful clarity. This journey wasn't merely about her own growth. It encompassed all those who had committed to the vision with her. They deserved a leader willing to forge paths of growth for everyone involved, established partnerships that held potential for reciprocal success. Realizing this, Anna felt unmoored from the continuously pressing clouds of self-doubt. "You're right," she admitted, her voice steady and resonant with conviction. "Let's work together, and we'll ensure our narrative isn't just about savings, but about shared purpose and success."
The truth hung between them, binding their fates together as allies rather than opponents. The dynamics had shifted. Both recognized that they had a trusted partner in each other, one who would stand shoulder to shoulder through the tumultuous waves ahead. In the days that followed, Anna settled into her role, not just as a leader, but as a navigator for change. She spearheaded meetings with the upper management and revisited their presentation with renewed vigor, no longer merely defending a project, but elevating the discussion to forge a shared future rooted in mutual respect and collaboration. She began highlighting the successes they had built as a team. Real victories unfolded. Budget reallocations that had initially threatened purely punitive measures transformed into discussions of innovative rechanneling of resources. Anna assigned her team specific roles in reframing perceptions, drawing on their varied passions and core competencies. They conducted simulations, prepared counter-arguments that emphasized the project's intrinsic worth, and emphasized moral integrity that resonated with upper management's evolving values. As she engaged more directly with the executives, Anna saw herself differently. She was emerging from the shadows of doubt, trailing along with her vision of who she could become. She articulated her perspective compellingly, demanding recognition not just for the work, but for the collaborative spirit they had fostered. One glaring night, as they prepared a presentation for the next evaluation cycle, Anna's confidence radiated through the meeting. "We're not just a project," she stated resolutely, looking around at her team flanked by Marissa's reassuring glance.
We represent needed innovation that aligns deeply with our core value to do right by our clients and ourselves. Marissa interjected, and in developing this project, we've woven in threads of accountability, harnessing our collective strengths. We've learned, adapted, and now we stand before you, not just as individuals, but as a cohesive force. The executives surrounding them leaned in, absorbing their new narrative approach, one that reflected relationship building over blame spreading. And as feedback surged back, it was clear that they witnessed a commitment to something far deeper than just reviving a faltering initiative. Weeks turned into months, their collaboration culminating in a significant launch event that captured the essence of what they had built. Their project didn't just survive, it thrived, and Anna, Marissa, and their team were celebrated for the transformative impact it had on the company and the clients they served. As the congratulations subsided and the weight of their journey began to dissolve, Anna sat illuminated by the soft golden light streaming into their conference room. Just as she settled into the reality of triumph, the shadows of the past whispered a reminder of how far she had traveled. This wasn't merely a career achievement, it was authentic evolution. She felt a surge of gratitude for Marissa, her team, and Michael's journey as well, for shaping her own path and shedding illusions. And when she caught her reflection in the window one serene evening, staring back was not just a weary maid, but a person grown resolute, recognized, and now empowered. Anna understood what it meant to protect integrity not just for herself, but to expand it within others. She had stepped away from mere survival to embracing the art of living to lead. Her journey reminded her, resilience is born from the conflicts we navigate and the connections we forge, and to chase growth is a continual act of reverence towards others' aspirations, intertwined with our own. Let this be your opportune moment. Share your thoughts and stories. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss your next exclusive emotional story. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help this channel grow. Comment your reactions and theories about Anna's transformation. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this powerful conclusion. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share. Only true fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of empowering these narratives.